Well, in the first place, I want to thank our friends at the University of Scranton, Pennsylvania, for making possible these transmissions that we hope to make from Central America. My name is Dean Brackley. I'm a Jesuit, and I'm a theology professor at the University of Central America here in San Salvador, Central America. And we're going to produce a number of segments, brief reports, brief explanation of themes that might be of interest, we hope, to people in the United States, especially people in universities like this one that are sponsored by the Jesuits. And the first thing I would like to do is explain to you a little bit about our university. This university, the UCA, is the place where the 6 Jesuits were murdered by the Salvadoran military, a commando unit, in 1989, together with 2 co-workers, 2 women, 2 Salvadorans, in the middle of an offensive by the guerrillas, and they were killed by the Salvadoran high command that ordered the killings. And this made the university especially well known throughout the world. The killings of the Jesuits here helped accelerate the peace process during our civil war that had been underway since 1981. So in the 9th year of that conflict, these killings took place and helped to accelerate an end to the war. Our university was founded in 1965 in this very poor and small Central American country where very few people could get even a high school education. It was founded by conservative Catholic families as a Catholic university and a counterweight to the only other national university which the founders believed was infected with secularism and Marxism. They founded the university the last year of the Second Vatican Council, when the Church itself was opening up to the world, and especially up to the suffering of the world. The Bishops' Conference in Latin America here in Medellin in 1968 committed the Church to the poor and to confront social injustice in a way that the Church had not done in the past. The Jesuits themselves were going through a period of renovation and defined their ministry as the service of faith and the promotion of justice. And so the Jesuits at this university asked themselves serious questions. What kind of a university is appropriate in a country where people die before their time because of lack of food, lack of medicine and health care, where injustice is structural and universal, where people have little access to education at a university, and where lies help to keep a very unjust social order in place. And the Jesuits responded in their own way with 2 means to try to address these problems. First, they decided to base the tuition, the cost of education, on a family's income, so that even today, the scholarship students that I work with will pay a tuition of about $50 a month. They're the poorest students, and their families are really not even able to pay that, $50 a month. If you're very rich, you will pay about $220 a month to come here to the UCA. There are other costs, of course, involved. But students have to they have to process their way through a socioeconomic questionnaire that will indicate their own family income, and there are spot checks on this. So that even though only about 20% of the country here is middle class, and even though about 75% of our students are middle class, we do have about a quarter of our students who are working class and poor students. And when you take into account that very few poor students are able to go to college, at least it's an effort. But as you can see, it's not enough. And so the Jesuits used a second instrument to try to respond in a responsible way to the massive injustice in the country. they developed an instrument which they called proyección social. And what does that mean? It means that besides teaching and besides research, which are done at all universities, at this university there would be instruments to try to project the resources of the university, its critique, its knowledge, its proposals, its research out beyond the campus in order to influence how people think in the wider society. Ignacio Ellacuría was the president of the university when it was killed, and he was instrumental in developing this new model of a university. And he felt that not only did we have to project knowledge beyond the university into the wider society, but that we had to unmask the lies that kept people from understanding the truth of the situation and changing it. And it was for this proyección social that the Jesuits and the two women were killed in November of 1989. The instruments that we use here for proyección social are research, but also appearances in the major media, also the use of our radio station, which was founded 1 year after the killings here. We have a Human Rights Institute, we have a Public Polling Institute, a Documentary Institute. Our students have to do 600 hours of community service in order to graduate. They are out into the communities. We have engineering professors who organize and bring students out to work on solar energy in remote, underserved communities, and many other forms that social projection take. Ellacuría also insisted that it was necessary to place la realidad, reality, at the top of the list of what was studied at the university. So sure, we're going to study literature and drama, but above all, we're going to study la realidad. And if you stop to think about it, how easy it is to graduate from college without understanding our social reality, without understanding what's going on in Africa, without understanding how many homeless people we have in our city, or how many African Americans in the United States, and why some people are poor and others are not. How international trade works unfairly to the benefit of rich countries and transnational corporations, and to the disadvantage of poor countries and peoples. For Ellacuría, that was above all the job of the university in its teaching ministry. And he wanted to help students to understand, above all, the social reality in which they live. And naturally, in the spirit of Jesuit education, we want to help people grow, not just intellectually, but also as persons. This university's model was forged during the war, and it was sealed with the blood of these 6 martyrs and the 2 women. And we are trying, not always achieving it, to live up to the ideals that they present to us. I guess like every university, we do that only in part, but we have that heritage of the Ignatian tradition, and especially of our martyrs, that inspires us to keep trying. So thank you. This is our just first segment, and